Forge FC is ready for their upcoming match.
Simply stunning stuff! And finally, their goal! My word, what a rocket!
Now, let's get you up to date with Anthony Urciuoli and Match Day Preview on the Forge Audio Network.
Hey, Forge fans, Anthony Urciuoli with you. It's the Match Day Preview on the Forge Audio Network, your home for the reigning, defending, undisputed Canadian Premier League champions, Forge FC, wherever and however you may be watching and or listening. Forge FC hosting Cavalry FC. The arch rivals are in town. Saturday, 4 o'clock, Tim Hortons Field. It's going to be a good one because not only are we kicking the season off, and that's always exciting to get things going, but also if you're a fan and you're attending this match, the promotions are back, $5 beer before kickoff, all the good stuff. And for this match only, you will get a commemorative medal, championship medal, CPL medal that looks identical to the medals that Forge FC received after winning their third title in 4 seasons way back in October, I guess it was at this point. It seems long ago, but just a few months ago, and we're kicking things off again. Fans in attendance, you will get those medals at the door. Now, how great is that? The players do all the work, the coaches, that they do all the work. What do? We watch. That's it. We watch the game, and we get rewarded. Can you imagine rewarded for watching a team play? We get championship medals too, having done virtually, kind of the bare minimum. Not to take anything away from the fans. Certainly you're valuable, but to get a medal just for supporting a team, listen, as far as the club is concerned, you've earned it. So those will be given out at the match. So make sure to get your tickets now at forgefc.ca. All right. We have to get things going here because Cavalry Forge, it's the season opener. Clean slate. Clean slate. We're going to check in with one of our favorite guests, Alexandre Gangué-Ruzic, covers Canadian soccer, covers the Canadian Premier League. I've never seen anyone provide the kind of coverage this man does on Twitter. Find him, Alexandre Gangué-Ruzic. Find him on Twitter. The way he tracks Canadian soccer players abroad, locally, men's soccer, women's soccer, he is on top of it all, and he's constantly, it's unbelievable the amount of coverage that he provides. Now, so if you don't believe me, I'm going to show you firsthand because he is joining us right now. All right, Alex Gangué-Ruzic back again. It's been a while helping us tee up this Forge Cavalry season opener for both clubs. Alex, thanks for coming back.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. It's been a while. Quite a few months have gone on since Forge lifted the North Star Shield, but feels like last time we were chatting, I remember it was Forge Cavalry, so kind of fitting that it's the eternal rivals of the CPL back at it.
Exactly, and we'll have many more of those matchups to talk about. But before we get into that, actually, just your thoughts on Forge's off-season. Not quite the turnover they've had in the past, some consistency there moving into this year.
Yeah, it is interesting to see because typically when teams win championships, it's not easy to retain all of your players. It's hard enough to retain a good core group of players usually when you win, especially as much as Forge has over the years. You'd expect maybe teams to pick at it like vultures, try to snag some players. So the fact they were able to retain pretty much most of their roster, bar a guy like Daniel Crutzen, but then they upgrade almost on a guy like Crutzen by bringing in Mandrakar James. It's everything you want for a champion, especially last year. They dealt with a lot of injuries, a lot of inconsistency throughout the year, yet played so well and then kind of got everyone healthy at the right time. The fact that all these pieces are coming back and you have full season where you're looking at a packed midfield, lots of depth at the back, just all these options up front. I think it's going to be exciting to see what Bobby Spiniotis can get out of this group.
Yeah, you mentioned Daniel Crutzen, and of course, fan favorite, popular among his teammates. Everyone's, it's unfortunate to see him go. But Mandrakar James is interesting because a lot of people may not know what he brings. Your assessment of James and what Forge fans can expect to see this season from him.
Yeah, this was a move that I liked a lot just because James has, enormous pedigree. He's a Canadian center back. He's just 29, so he's not, old by any stretch of the imagination. I think He's someone that's easy to forget that just a couple of years ago he's playing in the Champions League. Over in Denmark, he was going up against teams like Atalanta, doing relatively well for himself. And then he kind of fell into a bit of a, I don't know how to call it. It was just an odyssey of a couple of years where he went on loan to Denmark, went to a club that was really relegation battled, and that kind of dropped his stock for Canada a lot. And then next thing you know, he made the move over to Ukraine at an unfortunate time, just with everything going on there. And then his play finally restarted there, but it was kind of clear that, maybe the team he was playing for wasn't necessarily at a level where it was at before. So now he kind of gets a reset button in the prime of his career as for a center back to head to Forge and really be a leader. And this is one that's scary because you look at how guys like David Edgar came back to Forge and, guys who are playing at a higher level and how well they were. Well, James is like that, but much, much younger, and which is exciting just given that age profile he brings.
And what about his game? Is it similar to what we've seen from Crutzen?
Yeah, I think for the most part, James is someone who's very good in the air. That's always been clear since his time with Canada and his time over in Europe. He's tall, but he's also pretty decent with the ball at his feet. He's got a good, switch in him. He can play out of the back. So I think that will be huge, in Smirnotis' system where he's going to be asked to do a lot of that ball playing center back, no matter who he ends up pairing. Maybe because of that, they'll free up a guy like Anthony Urciuoli to go back to his more natural position. Although, with the midfielders in front of them, maybe he'll be pushed back just to get some guys on the field. So James should fit in relatively seamlessly to what, Smirnotis is going to want, which is aggressive ball playing center back.
Yeah, I mean, he could be paired with, Dominic Samuel. It could be Malik. You mentioned Anthony Urciuoli, and it's interesting because he's the reigning defender of the year, but he's also a very good midfielder. And the midfield is just jammed, and it's a good problem to have, especially at that position, especially under Bobby's system. They want to be playing a lot of soccer in the next year and a half or so, not all in Canada. So to have that depth is going to be important. Where do all these bodies fit in? I mean, we mentioned Anthony Urciuoli. Of course, Becker's back. Sissoko, Hojabrapor, Noah Jensen looks like he's ready to take that next step. Kwesi Poku, I know he played mostly fullback with Forge, but he's also a natural midfielder. A lot of playing, not a lot of playing time to go around, and a lot of quality in the midfield for Forge.
100%. And I think it's going to be fascinating to see, especially there's quality, but it's also the starting quality. I think it's one thing to have very good depth, but it's just the starting quality. I think Abubakar Sissoko would start on pretty much any team in the league, or Hojabrapor, Becker, and that's without talking about Anthony Urciuoli. So I think it's going to be fascinating. I do genuinely wonder if Bobby's going to keep Anthony Urciuoli back just because of that. Be like, look, it's going to be hard to bench a Sissoko, a Hojabrapor, a Becker when they're all, they're all very crucial pieces for different reasons. And then from there, there's just the depth will help. I mean, if you want to go do well in the Canadian Championship, you want to compete in the CPL, especially this year where they don't really have any CONCACAF obligations, they're going to have a few, a bit more rest. It will make sense for maybe them to get more of their big guns in the middle all on the park at once, because they're not playing every 3 to 4 days like they would in a CONCACAF year.
The CONCACAF thing, it's interesting. The CPL could have up to 3 teams playing in the Champions League, and how does that change your approach when you're building a squad? I mean, depth is obviously important, but even the messaging, it's, I guess it's not going to be difficult to get the players to buy in because they've been doing it under Bobby with a lot of depth for a number of years. But does it change the way you approach a season, knowing that you have that really huge goal beyond domestic play?
I think absolutely, especially with the Champions League, just because it's such a unique competition, like just the travel, the sheer difference of environments. I don't think you get that even in other Champions Leagues across the world. Like here, when you're playing in a Champions League, one week you could be playing up in Canada and it's cold, and next thing you know, you're playing 35 degrees down in Honduras, and that has a huge toll for many reasons. I mean, the travel, but also just injuries, because your body's not used to going from these sorts of differences of climate. So I think because of that, you do have to be ready to almost just to use your squad. I think that's the key. You have to be ready to rotate sometimes in league play or Champions League play, and just really take advantage of each game, and kind of look forward a little more, because coaches are always going to say one game at a time, and focus that way. But when you have less competitions, you can actually do that. Like, okay, one game at a time, injuries happen. But with the Champions League, it does feel like you have to pay attention. Okay, 2-3 weeks in time, we play this. maybe I should stretch my squad thin now, or maybe I should be resting guys, and that does all play a factor.
Yeah, and then when you move on to the attack, we kind of know where Borges and Chouanier fit in. At striker, it gets interesting because there's a lot of talent there, and the first name that comes to mind, just because I think people are expecting big things from Jordan Hamilton, just because he maybe didn't quite get a feel for things last season. He came in, season had already begun, the squad was kind of already established. Now you get a fresh start with Forge, and does he play a much bigger role this year?
I think you have to imagine he does. I think it's one of those where last year when he was brought in, it almost felt like a luxury thing. Like, oh, Jordan Hamilton's available, let's go after him. And you almost didn't have to think about it. You're like, oh, if he's fit, like, great. If not, like, you have Pasillas and Campbell. Whereas, okay, now it's a full season. Hamilton's going to want his minutes. They're all going to want their minutes. So it's a problem I do not envy for Bobby Spinotis, just because I don't think we've ever seen a situation like this where you probably have one spot and three players of that caliber vying for it. But it's definitely something where Hamilton's going to want to play a big role. So it's going to be interesting. Is it going to come in starts? Is it going to come in subs? Is this maybe a sign that Spinotis and company are expecting a transfer for someone like a Wubens Pasillas, who at his age and his goal rate, it wouldn't be out of the question? Or could it mean, Terran Campbell playing more on the wing like he did at Pacific to open up more minutes there? There's certainly a lot of factors that I think are going to go in, because, yeah, you'd like to sit there and imagine you'd want three strikers of that caliber in your roster, of course, but it's also not easy because they all want to play. They all want to go out and score, and then that does become something to manage. It'll
be fascinating to see, and maybe even just tinkering with the formation to be able to get more of the strikers out there. We've seen them go with two forwards at a time as well. Cavalry, they've been, since the start of this league, they have been the second best club in the CPL, but no championships to show for it. Tommy Wilden Jr. has done fantastic things there, but the odd thing about success is that people notice you when you're successful, but now they're looking for that next, okay, but when are you going to win a championship? Is Cavalry approaching that kind of make or break type, at least, not to say that, it's either win or, it's kind of all or nothing type thing for Cavalry, but are they getting to a point now where it's like they need to start showing something?
I think absolutely it's trophy or bust time, just because, look, like, it's great to be successful over the course of regular seasons. I mean, I'll always say in these sorts of playoff formats where, look, Lightning can get caught in a bottle, injuries, decisions all happen. It can be, a bit of, sometimes it doesn't reflect the overall quality. I think if you're doing well regular season after regular season, that says something. At the same time, good teams will be good in the regular season. It always seems to be the great teams that seem to just put it all together and go after it in the playoffs. And I think Cavalry absolutely does have to make that step this year. And I think it's going to be interesting because you can tell that this is a new Cavalry team. Like, this is one where a lot of that core from 2019 is finally mostly gone. Just three players are left from that team. It's no longer veterans around like Nick Ledgerwoods, your Jay Wieldens, if you want a bit of a throwback from year ones, your Mason Traffords, of course, who have been around. They're all gone. This is one where it's a new team, a younger team, and maybe that team's going to sit there and be like, okay, look, like, we have this reputation maybe of not always delivering in the playoffs. Let's go out and change that with this new core. And I think Wilden Jr. is going to be expecting from that, because it's hard to say his seat's hot given the success he's had, but at a certain point, you do wonder if you got to look elsewhere for someone.
Yeah, and what can Forge fans expect from Cavalry this season, since we are going to be seeing a lot of different faces out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing you should expect from Cavalry is just, the same old in terms of intensity, work rate, tactical flexibility. I think all that's going to be there, but they are a younger team. They've certainly in the midfield as well. In particular, they've gotten a little younger there. So I think it's something where look for them to really try and score some more goals through their number nines, play a lot in midfield. And then, with the signing like Callum Montgomery at the back, I think that's going to be a big signing to help the way they want to play, just have that sort of stalwart to replace the outgoing Karifa Yao. So I expect a lot of the same from Cavalry, but this is a younger one. So it should be interesting to see how that changes from the veteran, savvy kind of Cavalry sides we've been used to seeing in past years.
That should be interesting. Alexandre Gangué-Ruzic, By the way, Twitter should be paying you for all the content you're delivering. I've never seen no one that's covered any sport ever puts out the kind of content you do. And the way you follow the sport so closely, I don't know when you sleep. I don't know how you keep track of all the different games and where all the different Canadians are playing, but it's pretty remarkable. So what's your Twitter handle, by the way?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Alex Gangué-Ruzic, and I do appreciate that because it's something I love doing.
It's unbelievable,
watch a lot of soccer, so it's nice to put it out there. I mean, Elon's doing his best to push people like all of us away from the app, but as long as it's up, I'll be doing my best.
I was going to say, that's what I mean. Forget this Twitter blue. He should be paying you because no one is putting out this kind of soccer content like you are. So appreciate that, and I know we'll talk to you again soon.
Awesome. It was a pleasure as always, Anthony. Love chatting.
All right. Remember, secure your tickets to the season opener at Tim Hortons Field. It's not feared, although it could be feared if you're the opposition. It's a nice little recovery there. 4 p.m. Saturday. Get your tickets now. Fans attending will get championship medals. You're champions just for supporting a winning squad. That's got to feel. Only in Hamilton will you see that in this league. I mean, it's really the only place it's possible because Forge have 3 titles in 4 seasons, and they go for their 4th this season. It all starts Saturday, Tim Hortons Field. Get your tickets. We'll see you there.